and see this unique and fascinating place called Hollywood. Hollywood's biggest secret wasn't about affairs or scandals. It was about height. For decades, studios lied to America about their leading men. They built trenches on movie sets. They hired shorter actresses. They even paid for special elevator shoes every 6 months. One studio spent over $100,000 just digging holes so their star could look taller. Another had contracts requiring co-stars to be under a certain height. The public never knew. So how did they fool everyone? Let's get into Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney was only 5 feet 2 inches tall. That made him the shortest leading man in all of classic Hollywood. But for 3 years straight in 1939, 1940, and 1941, he was bigger than Clark Gable, Gary Cooper, and Cary Grant. He made more money for MGM than any of them. His small size helped him play a teenage boy named Andy Hardy, even when he was already in his mid-20s. Audiences loved those stories. They made 16 films in that series, and if you count the earnings with today's money, they made around $1.9 billion. Mickey had a boyish face, wild energy, and a body that never looked grown up. That mix made him the face of American optimism during the Great Depression. People saw him and felt a little better. But the thing that made him a star almost destroyed him later. When World War II ended, Mickey came back with a bronze star on his chest. He was a soldier now, but Hollywood didn't know what to do with him. He was no longer a kid, but he still looked too small to play a full-G grown man. Casting directors started writing the same line over and over again. Just 2 words. Height problem. Romantic scenes became strange. He once joked he needed to stand on a box just to kiss his co-stars. His $5,000 per week salary was cut. Studios stopped calling. By 1950, he was working for much less money in low-budget crime films. But something surprising happened. He played a broken boxing trainer in one film and a worn-out fight coach in another. Both roles got him Oscar nominations. Suddenly his small size didn't look silly anymore. It looked real. It looked tough. Then in 1979, everything changed again. Francis Ford Coppola gave Mickey a new role. He played a retired jockey in The Black Stallion. This time his size was perfect. Jockeys had to be small. The movie made $40 million. Critics loved him and he got another Oscar nod. He proved once again that no one could count him out. He had already acted in 43 films before he turned 25. Now, decades later, he was still surprising people. Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. was only 5 feet 3 inches tall, but on stage he looked bigger than anyone else. He was born in 1925 into a family of performers. By the time he was 3, he was already on stage dancing with the Will Maston Trio. He wore little shoes that had been shined to a mirror glow, and somehow they always landed right on beat. The crowd couldn't believe it. In the 1940s, nightclubs didn't want to book him. He was young, he was black, and he was short. Later, he would also lose one of his eyes in a terrible car crash. To many, he didn't look like a star. But Sammy didn't care. He turned every reason to reject him into a reason to clap louder. He could do it all. He'd play the drums like Gene Krupa. Then, he'd switch to singing like Frank Sinatra. Then he'd dance so fast your eyes couldn't follow. And when people finally started noticing his height, he didn't hide from it. He made it part of the joke. I'm a one-eyed Negro Jew. And on top of that, I'm short, he'd say. The audience would burst out laughing. Then he'd silence them with a song like Birth of the Blues. Even in 1964, when he was cast in the Broadway musical Golden Boy, producers worried again. Sammy was 5 feet 3 inches. His leading lady was tall and Swedish. They thought it would look strange. Sammy didn't argue. He trained harder. He practiced boxing scenes until his punches blurred. He demanded lighting that made his shadow stretch across the whole stage. The show sold out before it even opened. He got a Tony nomination. One review called him the littlest heavyweight in town. In Las Vegas, hotels once refused to let him stay on site. By 1968, everything had changed. He was making $35,000 a night. His contract said the audience had to be integrated. He had to stay in the best suite. No one could say no to him anymore. That's how powerful he had become. He released over 50 albums. He had a Billboard #1 hit with the Candyman. In June 1972, he acted in 38 films. He got nominated for Emmy, Grammy and Tony Awards. In 1987, he was honored by the Kennedy Center. In just 1 year, 1965, he raised about $750,000 for Martin Luther King's organization. That's more than most stars made for performing. James Cagney. James Cagney was never 5 feet 9 inches no matter what the studio claimed. His Army record said he was 5 feet 5 inches and his biographers agreed. That made him 4 inches shorter than the average American man in his time. In the 1920s and 30s, that kind of thing mattered. Leading men were supposed to look big. They were supposed to tower over the villain, the girl, and sometimes even the camera. But Cagney, he had to be filmed from the knees up. Sometimes he stood on crates. Sometimes he only acted next to shorter actresses, and even then, people were told he was taller than he really was. The newspapers printed the lie like it was fact. Meanwhile, Cagney laughed about it. He once joked that he had to jump just to reach his own punchlines. But the truth is, none of it ever held him back. He turned his small frame into pure force. When he moved on screen, he charged in The Public Enemy. From 1931, he slammed a grapefruit into Mae Clark's face.